We got to get down to business.
Come on, baby, I don't want you to go. Come on, baby, I don't want you to go. Gotta protect this place. Stay home, Chicago. Stay home if there's nowhere that you need to go. Oh yeah, stay home. Hang low in your place today, yeah. Gotta protect this place. Stay home, Chicago.
Oh, here comes the brown line.
There we go. Choo choo.
All right. Choo choo. Listen to that bad boy, huh? Yes, we're still in the attic.
Yep.
How's it going, everybody? Oh, Pat Rod, what up, dude? Are you doing okay? I've been thinking about you, pal. Hope you're doing well. Did you hear that wicked bong rip I gave you yesterday? That was just for you, dude. That was the longest bong rip I've ever done. That was all for you, Pat Rod.
Well, at least on the air.
Yeah, at least on the air.
Oh,
yeah.
God, folks. You should seen him back in the day in Alton.
Oh, boy. Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, Denny Bong Rips, they called me. Oh, is that Denny Bong Rips? Hey.
And that was before it was legal. Legal. It was illegal.
Oh, yeah.
And Denny was ripping.
Oh, 2007. Oh, Denny Bong Rips. I looked like Frasier. My hair was falling out. Still had hair on the sides. Just give me that bong. Well, I guess I just don't want a future other than this show.
No, we pretty much, with that NPR WBEZ riff last week, and what else did we make fun of? You're through, man. Guys, it's all me. It's not. He has nothing to do with it, all right? He really does like all of you.
I go to like a job interview for like WGN. All right. So,
yeah.
Final question. Denny Bong Rips? Really? Really?
Yeah, like none of them have ever smoked reefer. Oh, not us. You knew.
None of them talk about it to the public.
I
All right.
know.
All right, your Ben Joravsky show for Thursday, April 23rd. Okay, hold on. Before we do this, Pat Rod gave us an update. He says, feeling good so far. Staying positive.
That's how you have to do it. We're with you, man. Wow.
Well, keep listening to this show. We'll keep you staying positive.
Uh-oh, that cough is not. It's not. It was just a cough, okay?
Jesus, Benny.
They're coming to take me away. Oh.
Is that a song reference?
Yeah, that's way before your time.
You did a cough. Look, check this out. I bought this.
Oh, yeah,
Listen.
the spray. Spray it. There's
Lysol. I got Lysol. My mom sent me a care package. Lysol was in it.
It was perhaps one of the most politically incorrect songs of its day from the 60s, where this guy loses his mind because the girl drops him. And he's like, they're coming to take me away. The funny farm with layers. Beautiful all the time.
Hey,
oh, my God, that really is Lysol.
Yeah, I know. It reeks. Sorry about that.
It's all right, man. Get out the box.
Sprayed Lysol in the attic. Now it stinks like Lysol. Hey, let's just keep going with the live stream chat. People are riffing here. KMA Barry, what's up? KMA Barry says, Denny was so fast on those bong riffs, they started to call him Green Lightning.
They call him Green Lightning, ladies and gentlemen. Yes, sir.
No, it's great to hear, Pat Rod. Glad you're doing all right. Let's do this. All right.
Denny Bong rips. I like that.
Me and Tommy Two Joints. We could have a morning show.
Where's young Tom these days, man?
Probably at home.
Nah, he's out working. He's the hardest working reporter in the city of Chicago. Tommy Two Joints Shuba, man.
Roll me a doobie and go on the beat.
Oh, I miss those days. I used to see Tommy. He'd be out front of the building smoking cigarettes.
Yeah, trying to avoid you.
Yeah, right. Oh,
Acting like he doesn't see. Oh, I hope he doesn't recognize me.
Christ.
And then all of a sudden he hears, oh man, Tommy Two Joints.
Hey man, come on the show. All right, if I can. And then he would always have he'd be working on 50 stories at once. I miss my beloved Bright One, D.
Well, then there was a time I remember we were walking out of the Sun Times and we saw a dude. It was Tommy Two Joints, and he had a Carhartt coat on, and you didn't recognize him at all. You just thought he was some dude fixing the toilets or something. You're just like, oh man, I'm like, no, dude, that's Tommy Shuba. You're like, really? Like, yeah.
Yeah, and then I do remember that. Ah, the good days.
City people wear Carhartts too. All right, your Ben Joravsky show for Thursday, April 23rd is just moments away. But before we do this, let's thank these unions for sponsoring this program. Unions like the International Association of Machinists and Aerospace Workers, Local 126 in District 8. The International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers, Local 9 are sponsors, as well as the International Union of Operating Engineers, Local 150. Unions, thanks. Keep sponsoring us. And of course, today's Ben Joravsky show is brought to you by our good friends at the Chicago Federation of Labor. Benny J, it's Thursday. Let's hear a Thursday song of the day.
You know, I don't know why I'm thinking of this song, but for some reason I'm thinking of the Allman. Are you an Allman Brother fan, D?
No, I like almonds, not the Allman Brothers.
Oh my God, I love the Allman. I'm just going to do the bass line.
I was going to say an instrumental song of the day.
It opens up with that wicked bass line, and I've been down I forget what the lines are. Tied to the whipping post. You don't know that song?
No.
Getting old,
Ooh,
man. Nobody knows that song.
This is up there for worst song of the day yet.
I don't know, man.
You didn't know the words. You just did the bass line.
Come on, everybody knows that. Come on, everybody together now. Come on, man. Barry Oakley on bass. Allman Brothers.
Union, seriously, thank you for sponsoring this
I bet
show.
you there's some union guys who know the Allman Brothers.
The Ben Joravsky show starts now. It is Thursday, April 23rd, and live from Ben's house, this is the Ben Joravsky Show. Today on the program, it's the return of Chicago newsroom legend, our dear friend, young Kenneth Davis. And now your host, Chicago Reader columnist, old Benjamin Joravsky.
Hello, everybody. That's good. That's very good. Hello, everybody. Ben Joravsky here. We're calling this Mayor Madness Thursday. And here's why. For a moment, I forgot what day it was. I was like, uh-oh, what day is it?
Yeah, you're not alone.
Yeah, like, is it Wednesday? Is it Tuesday? Friday? I don't know. So much going on. That's why I'm forgetful, people. It's overwhelming. I mean, so much is happening. And we had to actually have a pre-show meeting. Yeah.
Barely. Barely.
Dr. Doobie and I said, you know what? Let's have a pre-show meeting. I was like, all right. It's just like, like we're a comedy show on Comedy Central. We're the Trevor Noah show. So we gathered together. We had coffee and donuts. Hey, where are the donuts? I like the cream donuts. There were no donuts, actually, but there was coffee. Did you get a nice cup of coffee?
Yes, I did. Chugged it.
So yeah, we had a pre-show meeting, and Dennis was like, he's up on stuff, folks, because he's the millennial of the two, so he gets all the Twitter feeds. I'm still reading newspapers, getting my stuff from newspapers, but you hear about the Mayor Goodman of Las Vegas, what a nutcase she is. We'll get to that. Did you see the YouTube video of Little Lightfoot? I hadn't seen it. I watched it. Damn, that's pretty funny stuff. And did you hear about the wingnut Brian Kemp governor in Georgia? Actually, I was the one who said that. And what about Lori Lightfoot and my alderman in the Chicago City Council? So much to talk about. I said, you know what? Let me handle Kemp and Lori Lightfoot and the alderman, and you can take care of the other stuff. Okay, that's how you do a pre-show meeting, folks.
Yeah, but you don't talk about it. You just do.
Oh, really? You're not supposed to... Oops.
You have the pre-show meeting, then you act like you didn't just have a meeting, and it sounds flawless.
Oh,
but yeah, you just...
Well, I was just so happy we had a meeting. Okay, a pre-show. Usually I just walk up here and we start winging it. All right. No, that's not true. There's hours of planning that goes into Ben Joravsky. Hours, okay, D? Hours of planning. Mostly me begging people to come on the show. Hey, when are you coming on the show? Kenny Davis is coming on the show, by the way. Did you talk to him yet? He has this, like, all these different phone numbers. Did you actually talk to young Kenneth?
Oh, my God. No, yeah, I talked to him.
Oh, cool. All right, I was a little worried about that. All right, let me get down to business here, Brian.
He said his favorite part of the Ben Joravsky Show, Quarantined Attic Edition, is the thought of me, producer Dennis, in the porta potty smoking a bong. He says that's great.
Hold on. It's just laughing. It's not the real thing.
I don't want to get the Lysol again.
Here we go. Hold on. Is that good? Anyway, Brian Kemp, governor of Georgia. I know everybody knows about this one, but this is just... there's a theme here. There's a parable here. There's a lesson here that I think all Republicans should take to heart about Brian Kemp. And it's an old lesson about dealing with Donald John Trump, but apparently Republicans have forgotten it.
And by the way, no relation to power forward for the Seattle Supersonics, Sean Kemp. No relation at all.
Thank you for saying that, since absolutely none of our listeners know who Sean Kemp is.
He was awesome.
There was another Kemp who was a baseball player. I think it was Matt Kemp. Anyway, Brian Kemp, the governor of Georgia, was elected in 2018. He defeated Stacey Abrams. I wish I had lived in Georgia so I could have voted for Stacey Abrams. And I think Georgians now are waking up to the realization that, boy, did they pick the wrong candidate to be their governor. Anyway, Brian Kemp decided, was it earlier this week, that he was going to reopen the state coming Friday. I think tomorrow they're going to reopen, like allow people, hair salons to reopen, nail parlors to reopen, bowling alleys, which is really bizarre. I love bowling as much as the next person. I bowl on a regular basis. But if there's anything that's going to spread the coronavirus, it would be a bowling alley. You're sharing balls, you're sharing shoes. You're like, guys are getting drunk usually, and you know what that, they're sputtering and spewing, and it's just like, that would not be the thing I would open.
That's the last place I'm going when we open back up.
But apparently, Brian Kemp thinks that somehow or other, not only is that an essential business for people in the state of Georgia, but that it's safe. So it would be on the first list of businesses that he would allow to reopen.
Someone look at the bowling records of this Kemp feller. He wants to get out on those lanes again.
He may be a Monday League bowler like me.
Tell you what, before this pandemic, I had a 296. I got to get a 300, damn it. Open up those alleys.
So he's decided he's going to open up the bowling alleys, among other things. And I think what happened is this. I think that Brian Kemp, who is clearly... he's typical Republican in the day of Trump. He does not believe in science, does not really listen to doctors, is more likely to listen to Donald Trump and Sean Hannity. I think he never believed that this was a serious threat to begin with. I think he probably thought that this was all an attempt by the Democrats to undermine Donald Trump, which is sort of the narrative that the Republicans are putting out. And he also got all excited by Operation Gridlock. And of course, Operation Gridlock, we talked a lot about this, was the protest that took place in Michigan last week, where about 1,000 people got in their cars and drove to Lansing and clogged up the streets, hence the gridlock, to protest the stay-at-home order of the Democratic governor of Michigan. So fired up and feeling compelled to do something, he decided he would open up the state. And he was further fired up and compelled to do that by Donald Trump tweeting out "Liberate." Remember that, when Donald Trump tweeted out "Liberate," and he was talking to the people in in states like Michigan, Minnesota, and Virginia, where they had Democratic governors. So Kemp's like, well, if the boss is doing it, meaning Donald Trump, I will do it. I'll follow his advice. So what happens yesterday? Donald Trump is at his briefing, and what does he say? He goes, no, I disagree with Brian Kemp. Poor Kemp's like, what?
Too soon.
Too soon.
Frankly, too soon.
It's classic Donald Trump. Donald Trump likes to play it two ways. So on one hand, when he has his briefings every now and then, and he wants to look like he's professorial. Well, I've studied the science. I have doctors that are advising me, and we're going to be really scientific here in the White House. And then, that's for like the swing voters in Wisconsin that he wants to win over. Like, he must think they're really stupid. And then just to make sure that the rest of the bunch gets fired up, he'll tweet out "Liberate." And apparently Brian Kemp didn't get the part where, you're not supposed to actually liberate. You're just supposed to use it as a rallying cry to fire up people in states where you have Democratic governors, so you can put the pressure on them. and maybe, I don't know, get turnout higher for November's election. He took it literal, and he's opening up the state. And now Trump's sort of throwing him under the bus. And I remember something. Here's the lesson. Michael Cohen warned you. He did. Remember Michael Cohen, D? Michael Cohen warned everybody. He was President Trump's lawyer back in the day. He was the guy who had paid off the porn stars who were having affairs with Trump. And he testified. He testified against Trump, hoping that it would get a lesser sentence when the feds came after him. And he warned people. He says, if you get in bed with Trump, you're gonna get beep. I'm not gonna swear, D.
Thank you.
Right? Okay?
Thank you.
But you know what he was saying. That's what's gonna happen to you.
Yes, bed bugs.
Yeah, bed bugs. You're gonna get bed bugs.
Go to bed with Trump. You're gonna get bed bugs.
That's exactly right. You're gonna get the bed bugs. So Brian Kemp has a wicked case of bed bugs right now, and so that should be a warning to any Republican out there. If you get too close to this man, he's going to bring you down. I've seen it happen time and time again. It's all about Donald Trump. Everybody is being used by him to advance whatever, I don't know, whatever business initiative he has, his political career, his TV career, et cetera, and so forth. So it's Kemp. I don't feel sorry for Kemp, by the way, not at all. I feel a little sorry for people in Georgia, but then again, they elected him. They had a perfectly good candidate in Stacey Abrams, and they elected Kemp. So deal with that, Georgia. Anyway, here in the city of Chicago, more madness, sort of, but kind of a more amusing madness in the city of Chicago. And Lori Lightfoot and the city council and the aldermen are having a power struggle. And D, I say this all the time. These are such dire, gloomy, grim period in Chicago. Well, a period in our country's history. Here I am doing this podcast from my attic, overlooking the alley and the Brown Line. Everybody's in quarantine. Everybody's in lockdown. I'm watching Joe Biden do the interview yesterday with James Corden, and Biden's in his basement, and Corden's in his garage. So it's a grim, scary time. The papers every day are filled with more stories about how the pandemic is dangerous as it's ever been. The virus is out there. We're not reducing it nearly enough to make things safe to go back to work. So we don't know when we're going to be out of this. Landlords are struggling with the renters over who's going to pay how much in rent. There's negotiations going on. The small businesses are trying to get a piece of the pie, and the corrupt Trump administration is giving money to the big businesses. So, it's a very grim time. But every now and then, the city council and my mayor remind me of happier times, and that's when they go at it a little bit. A little tussle in the city council, and we was on full display yesterday. We're probably going to take a deep dive with this with Dave Kolatz later in the week, but I don't know, D. It kind of, like I said, it just yes, the old days when the stakes weren't so high, although they're kind of high. We have a democracy.
When I can ride the train,
we care about this stuff. Yeah. So the central issue is this: Lori Lightfoot is saying that she should have extraordinary powers to award contracts without city council approval, to make expenditures without city council approval because of the pandemic. It's a serious crisis, and that serious crisis means that she should have powers that she wouldn't ordinarily seek or need or want. And so there was a negotiation for her first proposal. She made modifications. The budget committee passed that. What was that? I'm losing track of time. I think it was Tuesday. And so yesterday they had the full city council meeting, a virtual meeting. First time ever done that, I think, where of course, nobody's assembling. We're not like Georgia, okay? We're not like Las Vegas. We're respecting stay at home. So all the aldermen are, Lord knows where they are, but they're not in the city council chamber. And so Lori moves to have the council pass this ordinance that would give her extraordinary powers. And two aldermen got together, Raymond Lopez and our good friend Carlos Ramirez Rosa.
Carlos.
And Ray Lopez is a good friend of the show, too. He's been on this show a couple times. I shouldn't, even he's a little more conservative than I am, but I respect him. Anyway, so they got together and they took advantage of a rule that enables two aldermen to defer and publish, that is, put off a matter until the next meeting. And so they used that rule to defer and publish and move it to the next meeting. The idea being that they could then try to work with their aldermanic colleagues to try to get more of their aldermen to join them in opposition to this ordinance. Raylo and Carlos say this is an extraordinary abuse of power. It's not necessary. The mayor already has enough power. She doesn't need this extra power. But obviously, they don't have the votes to defeat it. You need 26 votes to defeat it, and I bet you anything, without any lobbying, Lori Lightfoot would have 26 votes to pass it. So they're going to lose. Lori Lightfoot she reacted, D. It was classic. It brought back memories of Mayor Daley. And I sent Dennis some Mayor Daley bits. Maybe we'll get into them later. Just brought back these great memories of Mayor Daley. Old Mayor Daley from like in the...
I'm sure she'd love to hear that.
What? That she sounds like Mayor Daley?
Yeah.
I'm going to write a whole column about this. She does remind me of Mayor Daley. She doesn't remind me of Mayor Rahm. I think Lori Lightfoot is an improvement over Mayor. People, oh, Ben, you're so hard on Lori Lightfoot. No, I think she's a big improvement on Mayor Rahm. She does remind me of Mayor Daley. And she's beloved by Chicagoans in the same way Daley was. See, Rahm was never really loved by Chicagoans. People, like he was this alien that dropped on us from Washington, D.C. Wasn't really from Chicago. You could tell that he didn't want to stick around here too long. He was just using us to advance his career. And by the way, it's worked out well for him, D. The guy's doing well. He's like, works for a hedge fund, so he's making money that. He's a talking head on the George Stephanopoulos show, so that's working every now and then. Writes a column for the Washington Post. I mean, he's doing well for himself.
Oh, you love his columns. You're like, man.
His columns,
as
man.
a columnist, you're like, wow, game recognizes game.
No recognizes no. I'm still not convinced that he actually writes the columns, but what was that? I think you were trying to push another button. Anyway, I went on a tangent there. But Lori Lightfoot really does remind me of Mayor Daley in many ways. And so, Raylo, Carlos, you're going to lose this. Lori will mock you. She already mocked you. She ripped you. I don't know if we have any clips on that. We're going to play them with Dave Glowatz, but the quotes where she was, again, saying, we're in the middle of a pandemic. These people are selfish. They're greedy. They only care about themselves. And then Carlos responds by saying it's a power grab. I don't know why she needs his power. And you know what, D, I have to say, just if you...
Say it.
I'm just going to say it.
Do it.
If you just isolate it to the core issue, does Lori Lightfoot need this extraordinary power because of the pandemic? No, I do not believe she needs it. Furthermore, I would never give the mayor more power than she already has. Any mayor. Because they already have complete control over the city. They control all the boards and entities that approve contracts. They control the schools. They control public housing. They control the park district. So it's like, why do they need more power? If anything, they need less power. But, it's like, she says, this is a serious time. I do not want to have to go to the city council. And Carlos responds, well, there's 48 hours. It would only take 48 hours to convene a meeting. What would you need extraordinary powers to do? And I'm trying to think, like, what expenditure would the mayor need? That's like a dire emergency expenditure that she could not get almost immediate approval from the city council. I can't think of any. In fact, I can't ever think of a Chicago City Council pushing back on a mayor since Harold Washington days, back in like 83, 84, 85, and when it was Eddie Burke and Eddie Verdoliak teaming up to block Harold Washington. I cannot think of any mayor who ever lost. There's only been one instance I recall since the 1980s when the mayor had to use his or her veto authority, and that was on a big box of ordinance. So mayors are all powerful. City council does whatever they tell them to do. So why are they worried about a 48-hour period? But I don't know. It's an emergency, she says. It's a crisis, she says. And I'm telling you, Raylo, I'm telling you, Carlos, you're going to lose this one. I know Chicagoans. I've lived here since 1981. And Chicago loves powerful mayors. Chicago is got this thing where they don't feel as though they're adequately protected unless they have a mayor bossing them around. That was especially the case with Richard M. Daley. It's like they thought that, yes, we were safe and secure because we had a boss who could just like order things. And even though people were upset when Mayor Daley ordered overnight, this is way before your time, the destruction of Meigs Field. It's like all of a sudden overnight, he just ordered an airport on the lake, just tore it up and didn't get approval from anybody. Didn't get city council approval, didn't get federal approval, just tore it up. He said it was a danger, a security danger, so he had to get rid of it. He had been against it the whole time. Even when he did that, the people of Chicago didn't revolt. They were like grumbled, they were upset, but they reelected him in 3 more years. Chicagoans love all powerful mayors. So my guess is that it's like when Lori got the haircut and people dared to criticize her, the people who did the criticizing got criticized and turned on, the citizens turned against them. And my guess is the same thing will happen with these extraordinary budget powers that Raylo and Carlos are trying to oppose. I think the overwhelming majority of Chicagoans will go along with him. Will go along with the mayor. You're not allowed to criticize the mayor. You're not allowed to make fun of the mayor. Well, maybe a little bit. You just have to kind of fall in line with the mayor. Look, I love Lori as much as the next person I voted for. Anyway, well, maybe I don't love her as much as most people do in the city of Chicago. But
she's real funny.
But I voted her for mayor. It's true. I did vote for her to be our mayor. But I did not vote for her to be our emperor. We got a great show today, everybody. Kenny Davis will be here. Young Kenneth Davis.
Kenny D.
He's fired up. This morning, he sent me the funniest thing. I got to read this to you. He sent me oh, my God. He said, hold on. Here we go. Where is it? I got a lot of text today. Here we go. Young Ken Davis sent me this text at 10 in the morning, all right? And he goes,
holy cow.
He wrote, "Hey, Ben, sorry to wake you."
Well, now, you can't read a Kenny D text and not do the impression of Kenny D.
There it is. Anyway, he had a whole list of things he wants to talk about, environmental issues, political issues. He's got to weigh in on Lori and the aldermen as well. So I'm looking forward to Kenny D. I haven't talked to him in a while. So young Kenneth will be coming on soon. But before we do that, plenty of political talk. The young man from Alton, the man they call Dr. Doobie, with the news.
Hey everybody, how's it going? Let's talk about what's happening in Chicago and or Illinois this afternoon. I mean, for most of us, nothing at all is happening. Yeah, just sitting around, eating, doing dishes, then eating again, then surprisingly doing dishes again. Then you go to sleep, you wake up, then hey, guess what? You eat again. Then it really comes to no surprise at all anymore. After that, you do dishes again. For the love of God, will this damn coronavirus go away?
I do a lot of dishes. You doing a lot of dishes, Dave?
Doing a ton of dishes. I just do the same 2 or 3 plates that I have. I just keep washing them over and over again.
And your hands. You're really good at washing your hands, by the way. I got to tell you that.
Well, you better believe it, buddy. It's a pandemic going on.
Scrubbing away. Well,
if there's ever a time to be good at washing your hands.
Tell that to Governor Kemp.
Was he not a good hand washer?
No, he's reopening the state. Bowling alleys.
Now, I got a turkey before the pandemic, and I almost got a 300. Now, open this damn thing up so I can get a 3. He wants that big, you get a ring when you bowl a 300, right?
Yes, you get a ring, and
where's your ring?
I've never even come close to a 300. Once I got like 5 strikes in a row. I was so happy.
Live stream chat. Is anyone listening bowled the 300? Or if you've listened on the download, have you bowled the 300 game? By the way, for none of our non-bowling fans, that's a perfect game. That's a strike every single time. 300.
Remember when Homer got it 300 in The Simpsons?
Yeah, I do actually.
Great episode.
You remember that?
Yeah,
that came out after 1979.
No. Was it in the 90s? I don't know.
That
I
was
just
the
don't
90s.
remember it.
If
of
you've
watching
bowled
it.
the 300, we would love for you to reach out to us and rub it in Ben Joravsky's face. Benny J Show at gmail.com. That's our phone number. Or I'm sorry, that's our email, BennyJShow at gmail.com. I'm going to give our phone number too. I got to get good about giving our phone number out. Yes, people, we have a Ben Joravsky Show phone number. It's true. Tell your friends. 708-658-4788. Leave us a voicemail. Let us know you bowled a 300. Even if you didn't, you can lie and just make fun of Ben for not bowling a 300. That'd be fantastic.
Bowling a 300 is really hard. Anybody ever bowl out there? I mean, just the pressure as it builds, as you get closer and closer. I think you have to get 12 strikes in a row. And so after you've got 6 in a row, the word starts spreading around the bowling alley. Hey, so-and-so in lane 7 is heading on his way. And then you get the 7th and the 8th, and then everyone. And then no one will talk to you about it. See, that's even more pressure. You know, you're not supposed to talk to somebody about getting too close to that 300. And then, I don't know if you know this, Steve, but when you're keeping score, you don't fill in the score while a person's on a roll of strikes. So you just let them keep getting strikes. So it's just like, by not reminding you.
Ben still writes the score in, by the way.
Well, yeah, that's. I mean,
most bowling alleys, they have a computer that does it.
yeah, but not where I go. Come on, man.
Abraham Lincoln bowled there, apparently.
People forget they don't even know how to score. That's something, I know it's like the typical old guy. Back in my day. You know what's funny, Dee? There was a story in the newspaper yesterday that I read in the newspaper. It had already been out for 24 hours, obviously, because that's how things go. You know, it's online.
Yeah. I've worked with you for about 3 years.
So I took a picture of it. I sent it to people. They didn't even know about it.
Oh,
There you go.
wow.
I was spreading news. I felt, oh, yeah, I'm first. Anyway, bowling, getting a 300 is very difficult, folk, because of the pressure. You got to deal with that pressure. It's not just like, 12 strikes in a row, like you're in practice. Everybody's watching and talking about you behind your back. Hey, so-and-so, do you know what he's doing? And then no one will say anything to you. They'll smile at you. Hi.
If you learn anything from this show today, it's this. Bowlers are shady, all right? Don't, go behind your
Well, it's
back.
like in baseball, when a pitcher's pitching a no-hitter or a perfect game, no one will talk to the pitcher about it. What's supposed to talk about it?
Shout out to KMA Barry on the live stream chat. He says, I bowled a 300, but it took me 2 games to do it.
Okay, that's a good one, yeah. Mm-hmm.
I get it now. He did
You got 150 in one game?
150. Yeah, I see. I see. All right. Oh, and Fred. Okay, dude. He says, I bowled a 350 once. That's not even... Not even possible.
No, 350. You need 2 games to get to 350.
All right. Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker.
And for the record, I love puppies.
This should come as no surprise to anyone by now, all right? Yes, he's giving his daily COVID-19 press briefing at 2:30 at the Thompson Center. Go watch it. More state news to talk about, though. It's the question that, really no one seems to have an answer to. So, when exactly do we go back to normal? The following comes from the Chicago Sun-Times and Neil Early. I've never heard of Neil Early. Maybe, is this a new hire, Ben? Have you seen Neil Early in the Sun-Times before?
No.
Yeah.
I don't. Where's my bright one?
Who are you, Neil?
Oh, I'm going to have to go get my bright one. I left it downstairs.
Excellent.
I'm lost without it.
Well, that pre-show prep went out the window.
You know what? I'll just get yesterday's. With the one
Oh,
with
yeah, there we
Willie
go.
Wilson on the cover. Willie, remember that story, D?
Yeah, it was yesterday. Of course I remember.
All right, actually, it's Tuesday's paper.
The following comes from the Chicago Sun-Times and Neil Early. With businesses closed, people out of work, and many residents postponing needed medical procedures, Illinois Republicans on Wednesday called for Governor J.B. Pritzker to ease his stay-at-home order, which is set at the moment to expire April 30th. Let's see here. We got a quote from State Rep Ryan Spain, a Republican out of Peoria, Illinois. He says, quote, the safe opening or reopening of our state economy is the important work that now faces us. And we believe that there should be allowances made for businesses to reopen as long as they can do so safely. The governor is expected to extend his order again this week, but this time State House Republicans want changes, calling for state parks to reopen, hospitals to start performing elective procedures and some businesses to reopen. At his regular daily briefing Wednesday in Chicago, Pritzker said the stay-at-home order could be amended based on new information that has come in. He cited experts' belief that wearing masks and having fewer people in a confined space does help slow the spread. J.B. Pritzker said, quote, "We're looking at that."
Yeah, I appreciate the fact that Republicans are willing to play the role of the opposition party. I just got finished talking about how I do not like to see too much power in the hands of anybody. So in the abstract, I appreciate the fact that Republicans, who are the minority party in Illinois, are playing the role of the opposition party. That said, it's like, duh. I mean, this notion that somehow or other, if they don't speak out, Governor Pritzker is going to keep the state closed forever is a ludicrous assumption. This is like the underlying assumption for the whole liberation movement, the Operation Gridlock movement. It's as though Republicans are accusing Democrats of intentionally closing down the economy, as though there was no compelling reason to close down the economy, as though, we just all were retreating to our attics and basements and garages for no reason at all, because, I don't know, want to bring on a depression to defeat Donald Trump. I mean, that's kind of like the mentality that the Republican Party has. And yeah, of course J.B. Pritzker will want to open up the state one day. He'll be reaping the publicity when he does that, D. You could just imagine. I hope the day comes, but you can imagine what will happen. It'll be a PR event. He'll clip a ribbon. You know what I'm saying? He'll be there when the door opens. They'll have live camera action. It'll be on the news. It's everybody. You know what I mean? So he'll be basking in the glory. I saw us through. So no matter, he wants to open up businesses just like everybody else because he's going to want the credit for being the governor that saw us through this horrific crisis. So this notion that like the governor is doing this because he has no reason is ludicrous. And yet Republicans are forced into this position because their party is locked into this anti-science, anti-doctor mode where they're following their orders from Donald Trump and Brian Kemp and Ron DeSantis and Reverend Falwell. And so, frankly, I feel that Illinois Republicans who used to have, and I say used to, have a reputation for being, I don't know, more moderate, more bipartisan, are now falling off the same cliff as the Kemps of the world. So it's a tricky business. You want to be the opposition party in the state of Illinois. You want to criticize the governor. You want to keep him on his toes, so to speak. But some of the stuff they're saying is pretty ludicrous. And that was a good example.
But Republicans do want more than that. The article continues here from the Chicago Sun-Times, and the guy we've never met before at the Sun-Times, Neil Early. Neil, have I met you before? With many states saying they plan to ease social distancing restrictions starting next week, Pritzker is being pressured by some to do the same in Illinois. House Republicans called for a staggered easing of restrictions that would allow for some businesses to reopen while following social distancing.
I don't know what businesses at this stage could reopen. I'm thinking about this. I know a little bit about the hairdressing business. My wife's a hairdresser, so I'm trying to, and that's one of the businesses that's going to be reopened in Georgia. I think that's on the list of many Republicans when they think about the first phase of opening. But if you don't have testing, how do you know that the person coming into your shop is not carrying the virus? So there's a bigger problem. And this is where I wish the Republicans would get more involved. There's a bigger problem. We don't have adequate testing in this country right now. We haven't had adequate testing from the get-go. And it doesn't seem like Donald Trump is in any hurry to provide us with that. So why aren't the Republicans using the power that they have within their party to promote, to get the president to, get more testing? If you have more testing, then you can start thinking about opening up businesses, because then you'll know how many people have the virus. So it seems as though Republicans, they're really struggling with this one because they don't want to criticize Donald Trump in any way. So they have to find things that they can criticize about J.B. Pritzker or, Lori Lightfoot. There's no Republicans in the city of Chicago. The only one criticizing Lori Lightfoot is me, Carlos, and Raylo. And I'm not really, jumping aboard it, but, having a little fun. So
How
I
about
don't
that
really.
haircut, huh?
Yeah, the haircut. Not allowed to talk about the haircut, D. I told you that. Didn't we have that meeting the other day? Remember the meeting?
Oh,
no
yeah,
more
yeah.
haircut. It was a pre-show meeting. No more haircut jokes, okay? So I don't know. The Republicans are really struggling with this one here in Illinois. They want to look like they're the party, they want like that's connected to the mainstream, the Republican Party, the Operation Gridlock people. But it's such an illogical. Such an illogical movement. It's not grounded in any reality. So they're really struggling here, dude.
All right. And earlier I gave the number to the Ben Joravsky Show. Yes, we have a phone number, 708-658-4788. Yesterday we played our very first voicemail on the program. Ben, what'd you think? It was Doogie. He sent us a voicemail. What'd you think about that?
Good. I'm looking for the next one.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I'm glad you said that.
No.
I'm very glad. Oh, no. What do you mean, no?
We did discuss it in the pre-show.
No, we didn't discuss that in the pre-show.
From me in the pre-show meeting.
Well, he just weighed in on the live stream chat and said, hey, Dennis, play my voicemail. It's about the state of Illinois reopening. So it's about 18 seconds here. Doogie reached out once again. You can do the same, everybody. Reach out to the Ben Joravsky Show, 708-658-4788. Don't do that thing where you look at the letters it doesn't spell anything. 708. Sorry, I tried, but it doesn't. Maybe I don't know. It does, but nothing in particular to our show.
No, it does. It spells Denny Bong Rips. Dial DENNY Bong Rips.
708-658-4788. Be like Doogie and send us a voicemail. Let's hear what's on Doogie's mind here. He reached out to us once again. Here is his voicemail. I'm going to turn down our microphone so you don't hear that brown line going.
There it goes.
I think it's safe to say that we can go back to open up all the businesses when the NBA comes back. How does Ben like that? I think we should use them as the leaders of everything is back to normal.
Excellent idea when the NBA comes back. And I just want to tell folks, the NBA, it's interesting little contrast between how the NBA dealt with the virus and the Republican Party and Donald Trump. NBA, many of the owners in the NBA, the National Basketball Association, are themselves conservative Republicans, which makes them different, I think, than the players who tend to vote Democrat in the NBA. So before the pandemic really hit hard, I think this is like late February, early March. It's been a while now. I'm losing track of time. The owners of the NBA convened a meeting, and they listened to a specialist who knows about pandemics. And this specialist, explained to them the significant consequences of the coronavirus and the COVID-19 outbreak and the damage it could cause and how the disease spreads and how there's no way of knowing who has it because you could be carriers that show no symptoms of it and how one person can affect 3 or 4 others and then those 3 or 4 others can infect 5 or 8 others, et cetera, and so forth. All the things that logical people know and understand. And the governors, the leaders of the NBA came to the conclusion that from a business standpoint, it would be disastrous to continue the season. Just liability issues alone would be overwhelming. Forget human life, just the cost of them of lawsuits that they would have to deal with if they were to keep the games open in the middle of the pandemic. And so it was easy for them to, for fiduciary reasons, to close the season. And I think about that a lot when I see this resistance coming from the Republican activists in the Republican Party, and who are being encouraged by the Ron DeSantis and Brian Kemps and Donald Trumps. Because when it was Republican businessmen who had millions and millions of dollars at stake, if not billions of dollars at stake, they decided to close it down because they were looking for their best interest. So I think you may be onto some, Doogie. When those billionaires decide that it's in their economic best interest to open up the NBA, when they're not being exposed to liability, and they could have the games without being sued and having people die, then yes, It might be a sign that we are ready to go back to business. But at the moment, that is the long way away. That's why everybody's watching The Last Dance, D. There's no sports. There's no basketball anywhere in the horizon. Although they do talk. There's some little talk of like having a tournament, NCAA single elimination tournament, like in June maybe, on some island in the Caribbean. Have you seen this talk, D?
Oh, wow. No.
Yeah,
I know that Dana White of UFC bought his own island, and they're calling it Fight Island.
Yeah, so, well, it's
How cool is
cut
that?
from the same cloth.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so in other words,
Sorry, guys,
you
that's
isolate
cool.
the basketball players on the island. You keep them there for at least 2 weeks to make sure that nobody has the virus. And then you play these games, single elimination tournament in arenas where there are no fans. So that's the best we're going to get.
But listeners, how cool is
another
that?
year.
That we've lived long enough to see a guy buy an island where people are just going to fight. Fight Island. Holy cow. What a time to be alive, people. But you did bring up an interesting question, though, when talking about the NBA and saying that most NBA players are Democratic voters. Who are the Republican voters of the NBA, like players? If you could think of some players in the NBA right now who vote Republican, who would they be? Hang tight on sports fans.
Well, it's the political angle on the sporting thing. Right now, I can't think of any NBA players who would be
I
Republican.
mean, there has to be some, right?
Well, here's the deal. Traditionally, and I'm going to make a racial analysis.
Oh, boy.
With the white players, I've noticed this. I've noticed this in the NBA for years. I'm a big fan of the NBA, and I read all NBA news. And every now and then there'd be a political discussion. And there's only like 2 black players that I can call were ever Republicans. One, Charles Barkley, and I think
That's terrible.
yeah. And Charles Barkley was my favorite kind of Republican. He always voted Democrat. And it was funny. He goes, I'm Republican. Remember, he said, I'm Republican. Because he had this conversation with his grandmother, I think it was. And he announced he was Republican. And the grandmother said, but Charles, only rich people are Republicans. And he goes, Grandma, I am rich. And so he became a Republican. But then he said, but I voted for Bill Clinton because I like him. And I voted for Al Gore because I liked him. It was like every time there was an election, he voted for the Democrat, but he still insisted he was a Republican. So he's my favorite kind of Republican. He votes Democrat. And Greg Anthony, I believe, who played for the Knicks, was a Republican. Other than that, if they had a politics, they identified as Democrats, the black players. And every now and then you have a white player like Bill Laimbeer, who used to play for the Detroit Pistons. I don't know, it was way before your time, D. He was a Republican.
Oh, really? A white guy named Bill voting Republican.
Yeah, Bill Laimbeer.
Interesting.
He played for the Detroit Pistons. Bulls fans hated him, hated the Pistons. So, and then there would be like the owners, they would be Republican. But no, overwhelmingly, I cannot think of one Republican. Because so many of the players who aren't black in the NBA are from Europe now. So I don't know if they have any politics.
I mean,
whatsoever.
white. A lot of the players that are white in the NBA.
Yeah,
Europe.
and Europeans, I'm trying to think, why would they have any politics in terms of the United States? You know what I'm saying? So I think the NBA, particularly since Obama, that was the other thing in the NFL. Oh my God, in the NFL, the Football League, I don't know if there's a white guy in the NFL who's a Democrat. Maybe Howie Long. You know what I'm saying? It's like they're all Republicans. But then after Obama, all the black players were identifying with Obama. So then they had to walk that fine line, and that's what really was at the heart of the Colin Kaepernick thing. They really worried about how that was going to break up the NFL, split the racial division. So to answer your question, D, I can't think of any players in the NBA right now who would say openly that they're Republicans and admit that they voted for Donald Trump, because I don't know if any of them there exist in the NBA.
Very interesting. Well, let's try and crack this code here. If there's anyone listening right now who plays in the NBA, please reach out to the Ben Joravsky Show, BennyJShow@gmail.com, or Benny J Show, BENNY, the letter J Show, at Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. If you play in the NBA, please reach out to us and let us know who you're voting for.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. The closest I could think of it, Craig Hodges, the great guard for the Chicago Bulls, great three-point shooter for the Chicago Bulls. I remember doing an interview with him shortly after the 2016 presidential race. And, of course, Craig Hodges hadn't played since the 90s. And he was essentially saying he saw no difference between Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump in terms of how they would impact poor black communities. So that's as close as you'll find. And he wasn't saying he would ever vote for Donald Trump. He was just saying he didn't see much of a difference between Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump. That's as close as I could think of an NBA person, a black NBA player saying he would vote for Donald Trump.
By the way, if you're a listener and you're a NASCAR driver, keep it to yourself. We know who you voted for. Moving on. Chicago Mayor Lori Lightfoot.
What's more important, saving lives or getting a pedicure? It's cold out. Nobody's going to see your toes.
But everybody's going to see your hair, right? Sorry, D. Was not allowed to make a Lori Lightfoot haircut joke.
Yeah, come on. We had that pre-show meeting
Right,
that you
remember
told
that?
everyone about.
Yeah, well, you said, no more jokes, Ben. I can't go anywhere in the north side. They love Lori.
Today, Chicago Mayor Lori Lightfoot is at the historic Water Tower Place. She's scheduled to be there at 1 p.m. Yes, right now, as we speak, she's announcing the city's new COVID-19 Economic Recovery Task Force. Who's on the task force? Well, I'm not sure. I'm refreshing Chicago Sun-Times to find out the info. If we're lucky, maybe we'll find out who's on that task force before this segment ends. But I wouldn't count on it. All right, now Ben mentioned it earlier. We were talking about yesterday's Chicago City Council meeting. So let's keep on talking about it here. Let's see here. The following comes from the Chicago Sun-Times. It says a few Chicago aldermen blocked a measure. Oh, I'm sorry. This comes from Illinois Politico and the one Shia Campos. My apologies, Shia. Please. Keep listening to this program. All right, she says here, a few Chicago aldermen blocked a measure that would have expanded Mayor Lori Lightfoot's authority to spend and sign contracts for efforts to fight the coronavirus pandemic without the approval of the Chicago City Council. And it all unfolded on Ben's favorite, Zoom.
Yeah, they love Zoom.
We had no clue what Zoom was until the pandemic, and boy, we found out, and we hate it.
Yeah, Zoom's terrible. I don't know why everybody loves it so much. People just love Zoom, man.
The proposal had already cleared the council's budget committee, so Wednesday's vote should have been perfunctory. Never heard that word in my life. Instead, the alderman called the measure a, quote, power grab and used some legislative maneuvering to delay the vote until the next council meeting, which the mayor announced would be Friday, a.k.a. tomorrow. The delay was led by 35th Ward Alderman Carlos Ramirez Rosa and Alderman Ray Lopez. They are adversaries, but tend to agree on one thing: their opposition to Lightfoot. John Byrne and Gregory Pratt at the Tribune captured the drama of the moment. It says here, confusion reigned on the city council's Zoom feed for several minutes during Wednesday's meeting as aldermen shouted over each other from their homes and offices. Oh, I'm sure dogs were barking like crazy, trying to maneuver to either proceed the vote or stop it. Lightfoot appeared frustrated as lawmakers talked over each other when Lopez yelled, "Hell no!"
Yeah, it's
during the roll call vote. Stone Cold Steve Austin at this Zoom meeting. He said, "Hell no," during the roll call vote. Lightfoot called him out for the language, saying, quote, "Hey, I know that some people like the sport of this, but it's highly inappropriate for some members of the city council to be using profanity."
Wow.
Without naming names, the mayor called the renegade alderman, quote, shameful and, quote, selfish, and accused them of grandstanding reports. Fran Spielman reported that. Lightfoot's frustration comes as she and her team try to get a hold of personal protective equipment to help frontline workers. Acquiring PPE oftentimes requires quick action. For example, a deal for millions of items of the equipment could fall through if the mayor had to wait for council approval. And so she sees the temporary expansion of her authority as a life and death issue in the COVID-19 battle. Carlos Ramirez Rosa sees it differently. He said, quote, "This underscores why this power grab is not an appropriate step for this council to approve at this time. We need level-headed leaders that, when they don't get their way, are willing to compromise and work with the city council."
Yeah, well, I talked about this already, D, and I got to tell you, if I were one of those aldermen, I would have been with Raylo and Carlos. And I say this because I don't believe the mayor of the city of Chicago should have any more power than he or she already has. Now, if they could show me a case where if they didn't have this power, like somehow or other the public would be exposed, where public would be in trouble, they would be dangerous, then I could see it. But they have so much control over the city budget, It's like giving them more power. I don't know. So I'm with them. I was with Raylo, and you're right. It is a very unusual tag team, Raylo and Carlos. They did not get along at all. We've had them both on the show, and they both would criticize
separately,
yeah. And they would both criticize each other. Like Carlos would criticize Raylo would criticize Carlos. But they don't see eye to eye. It's very strange. We're going to talk about this with Dave Glowatz. He's going to break it down for us. He's going to come in. I think it's next week on Tuesday or so, because he's also going to summarize what happens at tomorrow's meeting. But my favorite part, D, is like they're all in their separate rooms. And they're all yelling, and we know this from our own experience with Zoom. If you talk over each other, it just blots everything out. The sound breaks down, the image breaks down, and the notion of all the aldermen yelling at the same time, dogs barking.
It's like I can picture it right now. I mean, we've lived through that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know. Where was the barking dog?
It was John Prine guy.
Oh, right. Oh, my God. That was the John Prine bonus interview, which, by the way, folks, is a great interview. But anyway, Mark Areno.
Listen for the leaf blower.
With the leaf blower, the train, the dog. So I can really empathize with the alderman and mayor. But that's the other thing. Like, he said, hell no. Now, that is as hard on me if I swear. I'm not allowed to swear. You know what I mean? People come on the show and swear. They've been known to swear. It's a podcast, for crying out loud. But, we can't. We try to stick to those standards. Like, well, we're not going to swear.
Yeah, well, Jay Marie asks, "Is hell profanity?" I don't
think so.
I don't put hell in profanity.
I'm with you, Jay Marie, 100%
I
on
don't
this
say
one.
That. Ass is fine. Hell.
I mean, hell. But see, that Lori Lightfoot was so mad at Raylo for pushing off the vote and embarrassing her, and it gets to do this weird thing that Chicago mayors have. They want to. It's like I remember when Lori Lightfoot was just about to take office, and the reporters were asking her, "Well, do you think you're going to get votes like a 40, 45, 45-5 type votes?" Because it would be embarrassing if you only won, let's say, 35-15. And I'm like, what difference does it make if you win? What do you care if it's 26-24 or 47-3? And it was like this status, and a mayor really, Rahm was obsessed with this. Got to roll out this huge vote to show, that he's the man, he's in charge.
It reminds me of that website that went out there when the 11, I believe, aldermen and women who opposed Lori Lightfoot's budget, and she put it on a website.
Yeah, she put the website thing, and anybody would go to that website anyway for accurate information, and then the aldermen
you won the vote. Why do you got to do that?
That's this obsession Chicago mayors have with showing how powerful they are. And again, folks, I blame it on you, citizens of the city of Chicago. You love your powerful mayors a little too much. Okay? So I would have been with Raylo and Carlos just on principle, just to send a little message that, we still are in a democracy. And if you have to wait 48 hours to get even more power than you already have, there's nothing wrong with that.
Shout out to Jay Marie on the live stream chat. Jay Marie, you're cool as hell. I hope you keep listening to our show. She says, Ben and Dennis, most or all of the Progressive Caucus were in on this too. Not just Rosa and not just the very non-progressive Lopez.
Well, Jay Marie's bringing up a good point. Ray Lopez, interesting character, is more conservative. He's not in the Progressive Coalition. He's not in the Progressive Caucus. He's not in. There's like the Super Progressive Caucus. So yes, he's more conservative. That's true. But he has Jay Marie. You have to at least concede this point. From the moment that Lori Lightfoot took office, he has sort of embraced this role as being a critic of Mayor Lori Lightfoot, a critic of power, an all-powerful mayor. So whatever his reasons, whatever his motivations, I feel I have to concede that point, that almost every single council meeting, whenever it's a matter of giving the mayor more power, he's generally on the side of giving her less power for whatever reasons he has.
All right, Aunt J. Marie, shout out again. This is funny. She says, Lori is a petty Betty.
Comments should be directed to J. Marie. J. Marie clearly don't live on the north side. You're not allowed to criticize Lori Lightfoot. People love her on the north side.
Yeah, J. Marie, I don't know if you realize it, but now you can never live on the north side. They ask you that before.
They have, yeah, it's true. In the old days,
assuming you live in it.
Yeah, in the old days when I dared to vote for Stroger over Claypool, they would not allow me into Starbucks because of that.
Hi, welcome to Starbucks. Who'd you vote for again?
I voted for Todd Stroger. Leave! Okay.
Get out of here.
And I actually voted for John Stroger. He was in a coma. Anyway, proud of that vote.
All right. Well, that was fun. Weigh in on the live stream chat. If you're listening on the download, boy, you're missing out. You can listen.
Petty.
Petty. I know. Right? That's pretty good.
I'm going to give you credit for that one, Jay.
Jay Marie's awesome. Join us on the live stream chat like Jay Marie, Kyle Young, and the rest of them. Kyle weighed in. He says, Dennis's 7 swear words you can say on the podcast. I think I'm going to come up with that. I'm going to do 7 swear words that you can say on the podcast.
Well, since none of our guests listen to your rules on this one, as we learned from
just you and me. Everyone else could say what they want.
Yeah.
Just you and me. I say hell.
Okay, let me ask you a question. I have a serious question for you.
Okay, lay it on me.
I've actually not even discussed this with you in the pre-show meeting.
Typical Ben Joravsky show.
We had one pre-show meeting. It lasted for about 4 minutes. But I was so proud of that pre-show
What's
meeting.
your question?
All right, the question is this. There's a very funny show that typical for me. It's been on forever, but I just discovered it and started watching it. And it's SCHITT apostrophe S Creek. So how do I pronounce that on our show?
Well, you're right. And I think after Kim Foxgate, when Kim Fox came on our program and cursed, and then that broy guy, I can't remember, Bill Conway, used it in his campaign ads, I think I may allow shit as the 7th word that you can say on the podcast. I don't know. I'm thinking about it.
I have never heard you swear.
I said it last week. I said BS last week.
You said BS?
Yeah, and then you went, man, I never heard that.
Say what you said.
Bullshit.
Oh, wow. It's really hard. I'm with them, though. Dennis, you drum that in your head. You always worry back in the old days of radio that someone's going to push that button. It was, I had that moment of panic when some guest would say shit. Usually shit was the word they would say, right, D? Remember that panic? I never knew where the button was.
I think I'm going to allow it. I think that may be one of the words that we could say on the podcast. So
and hell. I mean, come on, hell?
Hell.
Are you kidding me? Hell is a swear word? Lori Lightfoot, come on, you went overboard with that. How dare you? The children.
Hey.
Oh God, yeah.
All right,
that's you're heading into Conway country, Mayor Lightfoot. You're heading into Conway country.
And speaking of Chicago Mayor Lori Lightfoot, Ben Joravsky, apparently there's a new psychological thriller.
Oh yeah,
coming out this summer, spring. I don't know when it's coming out. In fact, it's a fake movie I'm talking about, but Little Lightfoot. I don't know if you guys have seen this or not. It's online right now. I saw it on Facebook yesterday. It's a fake movie trailer for this little girl. She dresses up as Lori Lightfoot, and it's hilarious. I don't know if I made Ben watch this before.
That was part of the pre-show.
Boy, he's really happy. We actually talked about what the hell we're going to do before the show for once. But so I had Ben watch this before the show. Ben, what were your thoughts on the girl that plays? Yeah.
I think Lori Lightfoot will embrace it. She seems pretty good about embracing these things. So it was really funny. And with the fingers coming through. Obviously, we can't show it because we lost our video, but the fingers coming through.
I got the
door.
audio from the trailer. Well, I mean, even if we did have the video, I still don't have the technology to show a video as we talk. But anyway, so I have audio of the trailer here. I condensed it for audio. So check this out. Little Lightfoot coming to a theater near you, but not really.
I used to hate to go outside. But something changed.
Stay home, save lives.
Now I dream of going outside. But I can't because of her. I didn't know it at the time.
Stay home, save lives.
But she was protecting me from a greater evil.
Ooh.
Stay home, say live. And when you see it, it's really good because it does have that feel of the preview to a scary movie, Candyman. God, it seems like another universe ago. I was watching the previews to Candyman. It was supposed to be coming out. Obviously, they're going to hold off on it. By the way, we didn't get even to talk about Mayor Goodman of Las Vegas. I just want people to know. I make fun of Lori, and she does has that compulsion to going a little daily on us with the need to have more power. But I do believe she's looking out for our best interests with the stay-at-home stuff. So thank you, Lori, for doing that. And particularly in contrast to Mayor Goodman, Carolyn Goodman of Las Vegas. That is so trippy. Her interview with Anderson Cooper.
Oh, my God.
Do we have any of that, D, to play? I mean,
I have it on my phone here.
If you haven't seen it, check it out. It's So she is clearly a pawn of the gambling industry in Vegas. I mean, that's the industry that runs Vegas. That's the reason Vegas exists. So it's I can see, and her, if you know anything about her background, her husband, et cetera, and so forth, you could see there comes very much of that community. But she was suggesting that they open up the casinos to business. And Anderson Cooper's losing his mind as he's pointing out all the reality that the virus, as he says, a casino would be a petri dish for the virus, and she just won't concede anything. It's just she's driving him crazy. Reminded me of old Parachutes in those old days when he was doing with the show on WTTW where you have the various aldermen in and they would start fighting. You know what I mean? Hey, break it up. I had the sense that Anderson Cooper was really frustrated. So when I watch Mayor Goodman of Vegas, I
got a little bit of it here. It's just very unfortunate that it's a legitimate question. When do we go back to our normal lives? But the people representing this question is just not good. Let's listen to a little bit of this here. I think I got it. Take it away, Anderson. Oh, hey, by the way, CNN, don't sue us.
Yeah,
that'd be fantastic if you didn't do that.
Up for our viewers. I just want to put up for our viewers. This is a restaurant.
Anderson, you are tough.
No, I'm not
We're
talking.
back to China. This isn't China. This is Las Vegas, Nevada.
Wow. Okay, that's really ignorant. This is a restaurant, and the
That's
yellow
ignorant
circle.
to say
That's an ignorant statement. That's a restaurant, and yes, it's in China, but there are human beings too. That yellow is a person who is asymptomatic and infected. And all those other red circles are other diners who that one diner passed the virus to. All those other people became infected in a restaurant that had air conditioning, and they believe it was the air conditioning which helped the virus spread to all those other people.
You remember the Legionnaire's disease in 1976 in Philadelphia came all through the air conditioning. You don't remember because you're younger.
I do remember.
Typhoid Mary, who I think passed away, well, anyway, during the late 30s, rode the buses, was a cook, and she was asymptomatic, and she spreaded a fear of getting typhoid, and she never showed a sign of it. And she lived most of her life quarantined. The reality was, I think 58 people passed away from typhoid. And so we're aware of this. We learned from history. We've had Ebola. We've had the West Nile. We've had polio. We've had these horrific,
none of those were as
painful.
infectious in Las Vegas. I mean, you didn't have people with Ebola on a casino floor.
Yeah, this is, like I said, it was very frustrating debating her because she would make a point about the need to open up the casinos. He would counter with a counter argument, and then she would agree. Look at what a frustrating person. Can you imagine being married to somebody like that? You're having like a discussion with them. They say, no, you're wrong. And then you point out your evidence, and then they agree with your evidence that you pointed out to say you're wrong. And they go, but wait, I uttered that. I brought that out to show you're wrong. And they go, you're not understanding me. Remember typhoid? Very frustrating dealing with her. The reality is the part that she got at, D, that I give Anderson Cooper credit for, zeroing on This isn't China. This is Las Vegas. And this notion that if you shut down the economy, you're somehow promoting a totalitarian state, like the government state in China, that is sort of at the heart of the liberation Operation Gridlock movement. And that's the part that I cannot buy in it, because clearly the powers that be that have ordered people to stay at home, I mean, it's so obvious, it's so bizarre that we have to say it, are not doing it because they want to exercise a dictatorial control over Dennis and Ben and Joe Biden. We're all operating out of our attics and basements. They're doing it because of a health consideration. So I don't know. It was very frustrating for Anderson Cooper. I felt for him. I don't know if you can't see it, D, but the one point where he takes his glasses off, he's like, "Oh my God, this lady!"
Yeah, he touched his face.
Yes,
Made the ladies. He got so frustrated that during a pandemic on television on CNN, Anderson Cooper touched his
Tell you
face.
what, that's a very effective way of arguing with someone. You make an absurd assertion. They disagree with the assertion you make, and then you agree with their disagreement of the assertion. But wait a minute. I was saying that to prove you wrong. That's what I'm saying. Huh? Huh? What?
Yeah, go check that interview out.
That's our mayor.
If you haven't yet. We're going to take a break now. When we come back.
Kenneth.
Young Kenneth Davis. I have not heard from this man in a while. I'm looking forward to this interview with Kenny D. Ken Davis. People, don't go anywhere. It's the Ben Joravsky Show. Let's see if Ben always likes when I hit the post. We're going to go to the radio days here, and we're going to play the editorial board here from our good friend, Michael Girardi. People, don't go anywhere. This is the Ben Joravsky Show. Yes, we are live from Ben's attic with the Brown Line. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. I didn't hit the post.
Somehow not electable. That's the story.
All right, everybody, we're back. I believe we got
Hi.
Ken Davis.
Yes.
All right, Kenny
Sounding
D is
clear.
on the line.
Sounds absolutely clear.
Welcome back to the Ben Joravsky Show, live from Ben's attic.
Ken Davis with us. Sound very good, Ken. Loud and clear.
Yeah. Yes. Yes. That's the story from the editorial board.
That's correct. So as I said earlier in the show, I got a text from Ken with my instructions for what we're going to talk about. It arrived at the ungodly hour of 10 a.m. Ken, real wise guy, he's got jokes. He said, "Hey, Ben, sorry to wake you. I know it's early." Funny guy. You still need me today at 2? Yes, I need you. If you haven't bumped me for someone more interesting, I want to talk about. And here are the things, Ken, that you want to talk about. And we're going to get to them. I want to talk about Michael.
Well, I haven't seen you for a while, Ben. Your hair is really long. Man, you're almost like you're going to give a ponytail pretty soon.
I know, I'm like working with Willie Nelson over here.
Wait, time out. I'm one of the few people in the world who actually gets a haircut on a regular basis because my wife is a hairdresser. And we're quarantining together, unlike
Haircut Gate.
Haircut Gate. Oh, I'm going to make you weigh in on Haircut Gate. Uh-oh. They'll kick him out of the north side if you say anything bad about Lori. But you want to talk about Michael Moore's Planet of the Humans, which until you sent that to me, I had not seen. And I watched the trailer, but I have not seen the movie because, of course, I'm obsessed with the Bulls. You're the good citizen, Ken. I'm watching The Last Dance, utterly obsessed with basketball, and you, of course, are worried about the future of the planet. Important.
How dare you?
And then you also want to talk about Earth Day and Smokestack Gate, all things I want to talk about.
All kinds of stuff. So, just first of all, how did you celebrate Earth Day? Did you clean up a beach somewhere, or pick up litter in a park or something, Ben? I know you must be really tired.
Well, first of all, I was never a big Earth Day guy. I'm just sharing that. And I mean, this is kind of embarrassing because I believe in the concept of like a safe, clean environment. Ken, you know that. But I'm like obsessed with basketball and politics. It's like it's not like one of my things. I was always like Mick Dumke, my dear friend Mick Dumke. He was into like recycling stories and stuff, and I'd be like, yeah, those are really important stories. Thank God you're doing them, because I don't want to do them. So it's a long way of saying I didn't even know it was Earth Day until later. Until you sent me that reminder. Oh God, I shouldn't admit that.
Well, I barely knew about it until I got the notice from you saying, "Oh, you're going to want to talk about Earth Day."
Oh, that's a great Ben impression. That was a great Ben Joravsky impression, Ken. You've been holding out on us.
I don't remember.
Man, you want to talk about? You probably want to talk about Earth Day, huh?
You're just making stuff up. You're like Lori Lightfoot.
I'm making stuff up. But it has to be said that I barely even. I mean, I haven't paid any attention to Earth Day for decades. It's kind of like, if there were an encyclopedic entry for co-option, I think that would be it. I mean, the whole point is, hey, we're a global oil company, and we make plastics that are contaminating the entire planet and filling the ocean with our crap. Would you like to join us picking up trash off the beach on Thursday morning? That would be really nice of you. And that's kind of what I think it is.
I know there's something very jaded and cynical about the whole thing, the whole venture. And of course, I feel really bad to say I wasn't even aware of it. And that Earth Day, I think it's the same day as Marijuana Day, which is... So, Reefer Day.
Take your pick.
And I don't really pay attention to either one. I mean,
I see.
I'm utterly obsessed with basketball. I think on Earth Day I was watching The Last Dance. That's what I was doing.
I'm sure you were,
But we'll talk about Michael Moore's Planet of Humans. Get your review of it and why you think people should watch it and what the themes are in it. Well, no, let's just since we're talking environment, let's just go there right now. Tell everybody what they need to know about Planet of the Humans.
Well, this is a film that was EP'd, executive produced by Michael Moore, and it's actually hosted by Jeff Gibbs and another associate of his who who were people who had worked on all of Michael Moore's films before. So the tone is very, very similar. But here's the thing. I watched this film yesterday. The first moment I know that it was available, and it's available for a month, by the way, free on YouTube. Just look up Planet of the Humans and you'll see it. And it really deeply affected me because it got right to the heart of my own cynicism. I mean, for years and years, as you know, Ben, I worked in the Department of Environment when there was a Department of Environment in the city. I was their spokesperson even. But even through those years, I had an underlying really deep cynicism about the whole environmental movement, and I always have had. And part of it is that we talk about the main focus of Michael Moore's movie is energy generation, solar and wind and all that. And the fact of the matter is that you can't have these platforms. They can't exist without the underlying structure of coal and oil, because it takes coal and oil to run the machines that extract all of the rare metals that you put into the solar panels and so forth. But their big argument is that it generates such an infinitesimal amount of energy by comparison, and they just blow holes into the whole thing about how, you have to have nuclear plants. You can't have a solar array or a wind array feeding a factory or something like that unless there's a nuke plant nearby, because you have to have power 24 hours a day to dip in and out as the sun goes in or the wind drops and everything else. So this is an argument that's been around forever, and it is valid, but they savage the alternative energy industry in a way that I haven't seen it done before, and they really take off on things like biomass, where biomass is the burning of very innocuous sounding wood chips. All we're burning is wood chips, so we're not burning any of that nasty coal or oil. But of course, to get that, they show the deforestation of the Northeast, thousands and thousands of acres of trees being cut down and then just shredded into chips to feed into these plants that are basically municipal incinerators that are putting all kinds of other crap into the air, because they're also burning tires while they're at it and other municipal waste. So it's just, and it's that kind of thing. And my favorite part of it, for those of us who just love to be really cynical, is all of the Earth Day presentations and the big celebrations where the entire thing is 100% solar, because solar power is running all of everything that's here. And then of course they go backstage to look at the solar panel with an expert, and the solar array says it's probably generating about 1,200 watts. So you might be able to run maybe a toaster off of that array, but you sure as hell can't run all of those amps and lights and everything else. And for that, if you look around the corner down the hill, there's a diesel generator down there that's generating all the power for the stage. So this is the level of cynicism that it is. But I absolutely, I just require every one of your listeners and viewers to watch it, because it's just an amazingly put together film. I have all kinds of problems with it, and that's a separate discussion if you want to get into that.
Well, let's get into that. Some of the cynicism that you're expressing, that they're expressing, I remember going back to 1979. I want to say it was. There was a no nukes movement in this country, there was a no nukes concert in New York, where rock stars showed up and played, and they turned it into a movie. I don't know if you ever saw the movie, Ken, what you're doing in 1980 or 1979, I do not know. I actually saw the movie, and Ralph Nader was a part of the movement, and there was a cynical response to that, which is that the solar panels that the activists were advocating could not even power the amps that were playing their music. So that was a cynical response to that. Right. So I've always struggled with this. Like, what is sort of the overall theme of Jeff Gibbs and Michael Moore's movie? Is there saying that it's just all hopeless, that we have to embrace forms of energy that are just going to lead to the destruction of the planet?
Well, it's interesting, Ben. That's a very interesting thing, because the sort of the opening lines of the movie are, what happens when a single species so dominates the planet that it acquires the power to exhaust all the planet's resources. Will that species have the consciousness to go against its own interests and limit its own consumption? And it starts out as a thing about we just consume too much. But eventually it turns into what I think it really is, which is a population argument that we are already beyond the point where there are just too many people on the planet. And we're cutting down the very last of everything and eating the last of everything. I mean, they say that, marine fish production worldwide peaked 20 years ago. Active farmland has peaked about a few years ago. It's now covering 40% of the world. That's about the most you can get. Rivers are at peak level for irrigation. Fresh groundwater in the United States has about 10 years left. So it is really, really dark. And what they're saying is there are just too many people. But of course, then you're left at the end of this thing feeling like sick to your stomach, like, oh my God, it's like it's the end is near. But then, so as Mayor Daley the First would say, what trees do you plant, right? I mean, what? So who are we going to kill? Let's decide. If we got to kill about 1 billion or 1.5 billion people, maybe we should just let this whole coronavirus thing run its course, and then it would correct the planet a little bit. Maybe that's what the planet's trying to do right now. Or if you want to limit consumption, let's just start right there. What year do you want to go back to? 1925, 1918, 1830? I mean, I don't know how you're going to do it, because just look at population. I mean, let's see, in 1950 there were 2.5 billion people on the planet. Today there are 7.8 billion. They say it's going to level off about 10 billion in 2100, and then it might just kind of stay there, but we won't be able to feed 10 billion people. So okay, that means we gotta stop all consumption immediately if we're going to be able to be around in 2100. I don't know what to say.
Well, are you, having seen this movie, are you so cynical that you've come to the point that you agree that Ron was right to get rid of the Department of Environment?
Why? Because it was
It's hopeless. Doesn't matter.
So
What's the difference? We're all going to die.
We certainly know that he was a big, forward thinker in those regards. So maybe that was his game. I don't know. I never thought about it that way. But no, I thought it was a terrible mistake to get rid of it. Now, of course, I'm conflicted here because I worked for the Department of Environment. I worked for the Department of Environment, and I thought that we were doing some good things. There were certainly a lot of missteps during the time I was working there, as with any organization. But I mean, I'm looking at, we'll come back to this movie, but I'm looking at, Smokestack Gate, right?
Yeah.
I know I've heard you talking about it, and lots of people do, but my reaction was, if there had been a Department of Environment, I think those permits would not have been issued, because the Department of Environment ran those kind of permits through 3 or 4 different agencies within the department. And the air division of the Department of Environment would have looked at that and said, well, this is not going to work. And they would have needed to see the water cannons and everything the day before. They would have inspected to make sure that all of that was in place before anything even started. That's the way I look at it anyway. And I just think that, the mayor, before she was elected, was talking all about we need to get the Department of Environment started up again. And then, of course, when she faced the realities of her budget, that was one of the first things that went. And it's hard to argue that, bringing equality of some kind to the west and south sides and feeding people who are hungry are not higher priorities. I won't make that argument, but it's a shame. It's a shame not to see that level of regulation that once existed.
Well, I would argue that the they're part of the same process. In other words, trying to make sure that poor neighborhoods have adequate resources is part of the same process as trying to make sure that poor neighborhoods are adequately protected from environmental contaminants. And okay, just to people who are listening who don't know what we're talking about. About a week ago, the city of Chicago had given a permit to a company to tear down a smokestack that's part of an old coal burning plant on the southwest side, and there's going to be a development there eventually. So they have to get rid of what exists on the land so they can build a development. And we're in the middle of this: stay in your home, lock down, don't go outside, don't go to the beach. Be safe. Let's all be in this together. And they gave a permit. Only in Chicago, they gave a permit to a company to tear down the smokestack, and guess what? All this soot and just went everywhere, and at the very time we're trying to fight this respiratory disease,
It's important to say that they gave a permit to implode the smokestack, not to dismantle it. That could have been taken down without just blowing it up.
Very good.
But they chose that because it's the cheapest and easiest and fastest way to get the development rolling, right?
Yeah.
So yes, it can be done. It is done often and done successfully, but it costs a lot of money to do it properly because you have to have like the equivalent of a small town fire department out there to irrigate it, to put enough water on it so that the smoke doesn't fly all over the community.
Yeah. And so in the aftermath, what became important was the public relations battle. And this is all taking place in the middle of a pandemic. So everybody, it's like one of the, it's like, I talk about this all the time, Ken, like the things that would usually dominate conversation in Chicago is kind of pushed to the side because we're facing, like the end of the world as we know it. And so maybe that's not important. So the whole, to me, the fundamental issue is why was this permit granted in the first place, given the fact that we are in a lockdown mode and that our mayor is doing public service announcements saying, like don't get your hair cut or don't get your hair colored or don't go to the beach, and they're making jokes about it, but she's serious and she's very proud of the fact that she's been vigilantly looking out for the people of the city of Chicago. So who thought this was a good idea?
Exactly.
And
I haven't heard you talk about this. Maybe I've missed this. If I have, sorry to repeat it. But do you believe that Lori Lightfoot knew that permit had been issued?
Okay, now we're yes. I'll put it this way. I do believe that she knew because Michael Rodriguez, the alderman from the 22nd Ward, was raising it as an issue. And so then we get into the whole issue, and this is like an old-fashioned Chicago story, Ken, that existed before the pandemic, all right? So where we would really have a lot of time to dive into what did the mayor know and when did she know it, one of those kinds of things. So who decided to issue, you would go through, you get all the, in the old days there would be reporters scrambling, filing FOIA requests, find out when the permit was issued, who asked for the permit, what was the chain of the command, how far up did the emails go? Let's go FOIA for the emails. Let's put together a timeline. When did Alderman Rodriguez contact the Department of Environment, and what was the response? And who ultimately was benefiting from this? And did they give money to Lori? That kind of story in Chicago.
Yeah, sure.
We have this whole cadre of great reporters. They would have been all over this. But we're in the middle of a pandemic, and it's just like Rodriguez shouting at Lori and Lori shouting at Rodriguez. Well, Rodriguez isn't really shouting at Lori. He's a little intimidated, I feel. But
I think so.
I think he's just like overmatched. And so Lori's like, shut up. We're in a pandemic. Don't ask me any questions. So I don't know what Lori knew and when did she know it. But my guess is that it would have been discussed. You know what? The alternative is just as bad, Ken. That the permit was issued and no one talked about it.
Well, absolutely. Absolutely, that's right. But the thing is that where this intersects with the current political situation is that I want to believe that my mayor, who I have faith in, actually, I have some faith in her that she's the real item, that she means well. The mayor that I want her to be would have seen that permit and said, "Look, I know that the People for Justice, the group, the justice group in Little Village Environmental Justice Organization, is what I'm trying to say, that they have been complaining about this from the beginning, way back into the Rahm administration, that, yeah, you're going to tear down this horrible coal plant. Thank you very much for that. And what are you going to put in its place? A place where hundreds of semi-trailers come in every single day and dump more nitrous oxide and everything else into the air. Almost, well, I won't say as much as that smokestack did, but you're not really cleaning this place up. You're building a project where very few people will work, and it's not really helping our community. I mean, that's what those people, back when I was doing the TV show, we had them on a couple times to talk about that very issue. So it would seem to me that the mayor, I believe Lori Lightfoot to be, would look at this and say, wait a minute, we got a hot spot here as it is. I want to make sure that is going to be handled properly. And it doesn't appear that happened. And that's really kind of ticks me off.
Yeah. Well, listen, I'm going to give Lori Lightfoot the benefit of the doubt here. And we make fun of ourselves all the time, Ken. We're operating out of my attic overlooking the alley. Okay.
Yeah.
So it's easy for me sitting in my attic overlooking the alley to declare what Lori Lightfoot should have done. She's got a lot of, so I say that up front. But this is a classic mixed message. And I made fun of
the old mixed message
thing. I made fun of the mayor when she got angry at everybody in Chicago for going to the beach on the first nice day in March, I think it was. Maybe it was April. I've lost track of time. Remember that? When she was outraged and she had the pictures of people congregating in the beach, and the mayor was mad. And then Chicagoans kind of embrace that. They love a tough mayor.
They love being yelled at by the mayor.
Yeah, they love being yelled at. We'll get into that. I'm going to bring, but the reality is that the mayor's people dropped the ball because they all knew, they should have known that it was going to be a beautiful day, and it would have been the first beautiful day in weeks. Right. And Chicagoans, they leave their house in droves when it's a beautiful day, and so the announcement should have been the day before. So afterwards, she's stern. You are like little children. I can't trust you to do the right thing.
So true, man. That is so true.
So now I'm going to close.
It worked.
And Chicagoans, Ken, they're like, oh yeah, we're little children. We need a tough mayor, and it's
well. But there's another aspect to this too. When the day, like the day after that, what was it? The Sunday, wasn't it? I think when that happened.
Wait, a Sunday was a nice day when people
when everybody was out in the.
No, I think it was a weekday. I'm almost positive it was a weekday. Yeah.
Well,
go ahead.
I don't know if you remember the column that Mark Brown wrote, but he now lives on the lakefront and was talking about how he loves to walk the dog along the lakefront and everything. And really, Madam Mayor, come on, this is an extreme position. We don't need to go this far. I mean, come on, maybe we can just have people, that kind of thing. And I got to say, I read his column and I kind of agreed with him because, like him, I love my lakefront. It's my personal lakefront. I'm constantly walking up and down the lakefront, and sometimes my bike and all that. I love being on that lakefront, and I just felt like it was just a ridiculous idea to say that you can't go to the lakefront. 48 hours later, I'm in this camp where I wouldn't go to the lakefront right now if you paid me $1,000 cash, right?
Yeah.
She's so right. I'm with my mayor.
Yeah.
So whether it was brilliant strategy on her part or just dumb luck, she put herself in exactly the right place at exactly the right time. And that's when the memes started, right?
Yeah.
That's when everybody started putting pictures of Lori Lightfoot in their front windows.
Well, Ken, actually, we talked about that Mark Brown column, and we had a question, and let's get your take on it. Yep. According to Mark Brown, he went up Cricket Hill 15 times.
This is the part we zeroed in on. Okay, we riffed on this column.
Do you really think 15 sounds like a lot?
Yeah. That was what we did. We challenged Mark. Yeah, I know. The things we picked up on was like the part of the column where he goes, I did it 15 times. And I'm like, no way. Did you go up and down that hill 15 times?
Yeah.
Anyway, the things.
And what was the response? Did he ignored you?
No, he actually said he has a good sense of humor. He sent me an email, and he said that he runs up the hill, but his bad knees make him walk down the hill. So,
okay.
I don't know, a little tricky there. You led me to conclude that you ran up and down the hill 15.
Sounds like 7.5 to me.
Yeah, so 7.5. We'll call it a day. But it was a good column. The point of me was it was a very good column. I was envious. I said, I wish I wrote that column. That's when it's a good column when it leaves you saving. But the part I fixated on, wait a minute, 15. I've done Cricket Hill. I'm lucky if I go up it 5 times. And I've seen Mark Brown. Yeah. This is not Kip Keno here, all right? So But no,
it's the piping plovers, and now this.
Yeah, the piping clover. Good memory. No, I'm willing to say that Mayor Lori Lightfoot has overall done a good job, just sort of symbolizing the kind of a tough mayor trying to watch over her city, and I think Chicagoans really do appreciate it. Ken, that kind of toughness. But you and I have had this conversation for a long time. I just have this tendency to resist powerful mayors. So I just kind of where I go the opposite direction, just who I am. And
it's more than, or maybe less than, how much power they have. It's how persuasive they can be in bossing you around. And this is an interesting, I mean, oh God, Ben, you and I, this is all we ever want to talk about. But, Richard M. Daley had that quality. He could cow people into doing the things that he wanted them to do. Rahm Emanuel, not so much. He didn't really have that ability. He was a little too whiny, and people didn't go for it.
Take a chill pill,
man.
I
think we.
Sorry,
huh?
That's Dennis played. Take a chill pill, but go ahead.
Take a chill pill, man.
Take a chill pill. Yeah. So but now we've got kind of this hybrid of a mayor who lectures us and pounds us on, slaps us in the face when we do things wrong, and wags her finger at us, and yet we're kind of appreciating it.
Yeah, well,
kind of weird.
No, the Chicagoans are weird, Ken. They appreciate a tough mayor a little too much. Wait, D, I sent, in special for Ken, I sent Dennis earlier today. I was prepared for you. Ken Davis and I share this bizarre obsession with Mayor Richard M. Daley. Nobody remembers him anymore. It's like he's 2 mayors ago.
Say
Get
what
over
you will
it.
about Mayor Richard
Say
M.
what you will. But I have this. I sent this clip, and Dennis, he'll give me the thumbs up when it's ready to go.
I have 2 clips. I have a montage and I have a speech. Do you want me to play the montage?
Yeah,
first?
play the montage because it includes his exchange with Mick Dumke. So we're gonna play. This will bring back some memories.
Have you ever heard the podcast that Bill Cameron does over at WLS? It opens with this. He has this montage that's been running for years.
Well, this is probably the one. We're going to play it right now. Play it right now.
All right, here we go.
I just want to tell you, if the cougar attacked a child, they sue the city because the police officer didn't do their job. I didn't see a neighbor running out and grabbing and saying, "Oh, I love you," or bringing it in the house. This is unbelievable. I mean,
I said cuckoo once. I'll say it again. Cuckoo. Thank you.
Thousands.
Yeah, silliest thing I've ever heard in my life.
Don't tread on them. We did not cut. They have cut state mental health facilities all over the state. That is state money. Underline that. SATE, money. It's called state money.
Oh, it's been very effective. If I put this up your butt, you'll find out how effective it is. This up your butt. But you will not have the courage, you know that.
basically, This is unbelievable. I mean, cuckoo. Thank you. Let's put everything in perspective. Or he knows you can change anything you want.
It's silly.
SATE, money.
Yeah, you watch the spelling on the show, he'd be a perfect hire for it.
You'll find out how effective it is if we put a round up your.
It's silly. Bald-headed. He's bald-headed. Is that silly? No. Come on. I mean, it's the silliest thing I've ever heard.
All right, that's a montage, and then the other one, Ken. Is that what Cameron plays? That montage, or is
No,
that
no. His is just it's like
and
guacamole. I like guacamole and stuff like that. Yeah.
Well, the part in there about Mick Dumke is if I put this up your butt, it'll be effective. And that, of course, my good friend Mick was asking him a question about whether gun control laws were effective, and he had a musket, and he's like, if I put this, but the other bit, which is from a budget debate, I think, where Daley wanted the council to vote for his budget, and Robert Fioretti did not vote for it. I think that's what the issue was, and Daley just went off on Fioretti, and it was very similar to what Lori Lightfoot's doing now, and I'm starting to see some similarities between Lori Lightfoot and Mayor Daley, the way each of them deals with dissenting aldermen, and Daley went off on Fioretti and saying, okay, I'm going to order the CTA not to stop in your ward. And what are you going to do when I order the CTA to stop in your ward? You're going to come running at me, and you're going to want streets and sand. And it's a poor, and he's mad, he's getting really angry. And I'm starting to see some similarities between how Lori deals with. What do you think?
Oh, I think it's possible. I think she's different in so many ways. It's almost impossible to count how many ways she is. But I think she's a student. I'm sure she's learned from the Daley playbook. And Daley was very good at intimidation. He was very, very good at that. So I don't know.
What was and you were watching yesterday's city council debate?
That's what I was going to ask you about, because I was just sitting here mesmerized watching the Zoom of the city council meeting, and it was just as awful as Zoom meetings everywhere are. I mean, except that in this case there were 50 plus 2 or 3. There were 53 people on this thing. Yeah. And there were just these hilarious moments when my dear alderman out here in the 38th ward was just kind of mumbling to himself. And then the other aldermen were saying, hey, you should mute. You know where the mute button? Hit the mute button. And all the aldermen, when they would talk, there was always a dog barking in the background and stuff. It was just such amateur night stuff. And of course, the fact that absolutely nobody knew what they were voting on, and you could just every once because. It has automatic gating on the microphone, so when someone starts to speak, you can hear it, and people are just saying, "What are we voting on? What is this? What are we voting on?" It was hilarious, but it was also, it was interesting to watch the whole defer and publish thing and how that all worked out. And I actually, if you don't mind, I have another question to ask you, because I thought that Carlos Ramirez Rosa brought up a very good point when he said, why do we need to give you this kind of power to make these instantaneous decisions when we've already proven right here that we can call the city council together from their home in relatively short time? So if there was some kind of huge emergency that you needed to know immediately, I mean, I don't think he put it quite this eloquently, but, you could call, your staff could call every alderman within 6 hours and have everybody who wanted to be on the line and take a vote. Mm-hmm. So now that we've crossed this barrier that nobody ever thought we could cross, where we can actually take a vote, virtually, we don't have to be sitting in those big leather chairs. hey, it changes everything, right? So why do you need this power? Tell me again. I mean, was he right about that?
Yeah. Well, that's what I've been saying all day. I've not seen any evidence from the mayor's office that justifies like a larger public safety interest in giving her more power than she already has. And
yeah.
so,
I mean, she was arguing the 48 hours, that it takes 48 hours, and she might have to make a life or death decision within 48 hours. And, that sounds a little bit squeezed to me. But
listen, it's like everything else with the mayor at this point with the pandemic. So we make fun of ourselves for the haircut jokes. But when people pointed out that there was inconsistency with the mayor doing the PSA saying, don't tend to your hair, but then saying she has to do because she's a public figure. And then she gets mad and says, we're in the middle of a pandemic. Stop asking me these questions. So, there's no question you can ask now. We're in a pandemic. So let's just give her more power. I'll go one step further. Carlos made a good point. And you made a compelling point too, that in the age of virtual meetings, you could hold a meeting at any time, in any place, et cetera, and so forth. I've only once in the last 30 odd years has the mayor been forced to override a veto. Only once. And mayors get what they want from the Chicago City Council. And so without any kind of difficult, I would say this mayor could get anything she wants out of the city council. She got 26 votes without any kind of arm twisting, Ken.
Yeah, yeah.
So what does she need more power? I just don't see it at all. Even even if you didn't have virtual,
it's confusing because you can't even figure out what it is that she wants. I mean, what is this extraordinary power that she feels she needs? I mean, authorize another, I don't know, Sterling Bay, give Sterling Bay $75 billion. I mean, I don't know what would she need.
I don't know.
Anyway,
that's a very good point because the Lincoln Yards vote went down in a different world. There was no pandemic, but she was saying she was powerless to stop it.
Right.
So now she's even more. So I just kind of had a smile, and I would have obviously voted just because of who I am with Carlos and Raylo on that one, just out of principle, just to let everybody know I was breathing and alive. How would you have voted, young Kenneth, if you were an alderman?
Oh man, I probably would have voted with the 48 because it just didn't seem like, you get this thing about, what's the hill you want to die on? I would not have been willing to have been on that side of that vote that day because I'm, you could say that I'm a practical person, or you could just say I'm a coward. But I think that the other 48 were making, if it was 40, I don't know what the real numbers was, but we're all 50 on that thing. I don't know. But anyway, the people who were not the two, they were making a calculation, and they were saying, this is not worth it. It's not worth getting Lori Lightfoot all ticked off at me over this. There are going to be bigger fights, and I want to save my powder for that.
Yeah,
that's the way I would have looked at it.
That's a very compelling argument, and Dennis has made that argument to me in things for as long as I've known him. Ben, this is not the hill you want to die on. And I'm always looking to die on a hill. But this is not the one you want to die on. And that's a classic.
Dennis and I are great military heroes. We're both decorated military heroes. But
the thing about most aldermen, though, I will stand up to the mayor, but this is not the hill I want to die on. What hill exists that you would die on? I'm still looking for that hill. Anyway, all right.
Well, but just one quick point, which is kind of echoing what you just said. The fact of the matter is that the mayor can get anything she wants through the city council anytime at all, anyway. Yeah. So it just doesn't make a lot of sense to ask for this extraordinary power because she has like 98% of that power already. Yeah. So anyway,
sometimes my guess is, and I could be wrong, I'm not in the middle of their backroom deals and where everybody's conferring. It's like, you got to do something that looks really impressive. I know. I'll give myself more power, and then I can, then I'll look really impressive.
Yeah.
So it's just kind of like the person's in charge, and goes back to what I'm saying. Chicagoans love a mayor who's in charge.
Yeah.
All right, Ken, we got to get going here, and it was a pleasure.
Hey, we didn't get a
talking
chance to talk about recycling. We should do that some other time because there's some very interesting stuff going on in recycling. So I did research for your show, Ben.
Oh.
We'll do it
Well,
another
let's talk
time.
about it. That was somehow or other, I missed that on my list of things to talk about. So go ahead.
No, it's just something else along the things you learn about when you're looking at other things. A very interesting thing has happened. Waste management, by the way, you're going to be upset about this. Waste management's profits have declined 35%, or their revenues have declined 35% since 2017. So you should know that because of recycling. Recycling is not making them any money anymore. But the interesting thing to me is that we're finding out that the few things in the world that actually do get recycled are like cardboard and clean cardboard, some clean paper, some aluminum, but pretty much nothing else. But most of that stuff that gets recycled is coming from clean sources like restaurant groups and that kind of thing. People where the stuff doesn't get out into the environment, like a can stays within the environment and gets recycled in a can that goes back and all that. So what's happening is, with everything being closed, the plants that really do recycling are finding that their feedstocks are dropping. So they're actually turning to, of all things, curbside recycling to try to pick out some of the crap that's in curbside recycling. And they're finding that cardboard, some people are actually are keeping their cardboard clean that they're getting from Amazon and everything else. So a little bit of momentary good news for curbside recycling, that a little tiny bit of that stuff is actually getting recycled instead of what we all know ordinarily happens is that the big trucks come and pick it up, source separated into the truck, and then it goes to the landfill. So
Yeah.
there you are.
Well, that's good news, because this is just a long-standing debate in my household where, I was like, they don't recycle this stuff. Why do I have to get those newspapers into the blue bin? So I'm happy to hear there's some good news. You started off with the horrendous news that the world is coming to an end. We're all going to die. And Michael Moore is right. And then you ending with some positives. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to watch that Michael Moore movie, Jeff Gibbs movie.
And keep in mind that some of the people who are eviscerated in that movie, and this is another longer conversation I'd love to have with you sometime, which is about journalism. And Michael Moore is not a journalist. He does not adhere to journalistic things. And one of the things he does is that he does this ridiculous gotcha interview with this guy Bill McKibben, who has been a environmental leader for years and years and years, and he put out a scathing response to it today, talking about how he actually wrote to Michael Moore after the interview asking if he could clarify, and they never called him back and stuff like that. But anyway, there's a lot of that stuff that needs to be looked at too, about the journalistic approach that this thing takes, and I think it's highly flawed. And one of the questions that I'm leaving you with is that when you watch the movie, ask yourself, doesn't this movie play into the hands of Mitch McConnell and the right, saying, well, we always knew these things didn't really work, so I don't know why we're giving anybody this. Let's stop recycling now. I mean, I can just hear it,
By the way, it's not a bad Mitch McConnell.
I'm not recycling. I don't mean recycle. Let's stop alternative energy. We don't need it. Let's just pull more coal out of the ground. That's what we need. More coal.
I'm going to watch. I'm going to hesitate to make any comments about a movie I haven't seen. And I'm not going to be, and I will watch it, and we'll probably convene a symposium on it. I'll get our good friend Mike Novak involved in this one too. I'm sure he has a lot of things to say, but I do remember this. Alexander Coburn, who was a far left wing writer,
Mhm.
wrote for The Nation, and was beloved
Yep.
by the lefties everywhere. Near the end of his life,
Yeah.
he died of cancer. He turned against the whole concept of global warming. And he began to write these columns in The Nation that were saying that global warming was essentially a hoax. I mean, it was Trump before Trump. And the Nation didn't know what to do with it. You know what I'm saying? Because it was like when Christopher Hitchens from The Nation went right. It started favoring the Iraqi War and championing George Bush, and The Nation didn't know what. Poor lefties didn't know what to do with it. My beloved lefties are always losing their mind, and so it sounds to me like Michael Moore is drifting into that arena, and
Well, it's not exactly that. It's that whole thing of how sometimes you can go so far left that you meet the crazy righties, and you're kind of like in the same political boat, and that's kind of what seems to be going on here.
All right, well, I'm going to definitely check it out. We'll convene a panel discussion. Let's get Mike Novak talking about this as well.
All right. Kenny D, I got to ask you, man, what the hell are you doing since all of this? Are you during your quarantine? You doing okay? What are you watching? What are you doing to keep yourself?
Painting my house.
Painting the house? Perfect.
Yeah.
Wow, painting the house and watching.
Yeah, it's nice to be outside and you don't have to wear a mask because there's nobody around, that kind of thing.
Oh, painting the outsides of the house. Got it. Okay.
Outside of the house, yeah.
Wow, that's good. Very handy man, Ken Davis. And we should have him come in here and fix up this the studio we have.
Oh, yeah. Let's put him to work. Thanks for all your help here. No, I'll come over and help paint.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, just have to feed him. The guy loves peanut butter sandwiches, okay? Got to feed him, all right?
I'll give you avocado sandwich.
No, he doesn't like avocado. No. Peanut butter jelly. All right. All right, that's Ken Davis. Thank you very much, Ken Davis. And I want to also thank.
Well, before we wrap up, we got a few things to go over here, Benny J. All right. First off, you had me get another video a daily or some more.
I know. I
daily.
wish we're gonna play that one eventually. That is just classic Daily. Railing at Bob Fioretti. This is why I always had. Remember, people go, how they don't understand how I could have it's just like a good vibe on Fioretti because so many people. He's a joke because he keeps running for office. But I remember whenever now and then he would stand up to Daly, and Daly was so mad at him and he's yelling at him. We'll play that some other time.
Okay, well, we'll play that daily video some other time. Our friend Bruce, who's always on the Ben Joravsky Show live stream chat. One of these trains that went by, he was on one of them.
Just today?
Yeah, like a few minutes ago during the Kid Davis interview.
That's amazing.
How trippy.
Yeah. Remember the joke is I never could see anybody on the train, but Bruce. Right on, man.
That's pretty cool. And also, we talked about this yesterday. We actually ended yesterday's show with this. There were talks. All these things getting canceled left and right. Yeah, I know, Puddle of Mud, Toby Keith, and LL Cool J more than likely canceled. But they talked about yesterday is that the Chicago Marathon, yes, when people just run, it was going to be postponed. They said, oh, no, they were saying that it was still going to happen.
Yeah.
Well, thanks to our good friend Frank on the Ben Joravsky Show Facebook page, he informed us that the Bank of America Chicago Half Marathon has been canceled.
Wait, the half marathon or the full marathon?
Oh, it says here, there's two. I didn't know.
Well, there's a half marathon, yeah.
Okay, well, I would assume that if the half marathon's canceled, the whole one will probably be canceled too, right? But no, he says the Bank of America Half Marathon has been canceled. So I'm assuming that's the same one.
No,
I don't know. I'm not a big marathon buff.
Yeah, different ones, but whatever.
You know?
Yeah. But I think there's two separate races.
Now, for all those who are bummed out about that being canceled, well, I mentioned this yesterday. Just open up your front door and start running.
Yeah.
Boom. Same thing, right? And then just give money to some foundation. Bam. Same thing, right?
Clearly, you're not a marathon man. People love to be in that pack. I can relate. I've never done it. I've thought about it.
You can relate. I've never done it. Oh, wow.
No, but I can relate to just the inclination to be part of the larger community of runners and just on that high. I've done 5Ks, and that's fun. But a marathon, whoa, way too long. And I haven't run in so long, D. But I'll tell you what. When this pandemic is over, Mark Brown and I are going over to Cricket Hill. We're going to go up and down that hill. Oh, yeah, Mark Brown. I haven't forgotten that.
We're holding your feet to the fire, Brown.
Yeah, 15, Ben. 15.
Mark Brown's probably like, this damn podcast. Why do they keep talking about my Cricket Hill thing? And earlier, Ken Davis gave us his Mitch McConnell impression. People on the live stream chat are asking if I have one. I do. And it's... That's my...
He's
Mitch
on the ropes,
McConnell.
by the way. He's on the ropes. Mitch McConnell's on the ropes. Amy
yeah?
McGrath is giving him hell down there in Kentucky. Every day I get like 10 Mitch McConnell appeals. Oh, we're in trouble. Help!
So those are our updates there, everybody. Live stream chat. We had a great conversation today. Jay Marie, what's up? Feel free to weigh in on the live stream chat. And Ben, we have more than just Doogie, who left us a voicemail.
Oh,
that's right. We're gonna play a voicemail tomorrow. Okay. How about that? That's a tease there, huh? You don't want to miss tomorrow's show. We got a voicemail from Springfield, and apparently it's a guy named Dr. Phil.
That's correct.
Oh, when it's the same Dr. Phil.
That'd be awesome.
We'll see
Look,
tomorrow.
Ben Joravsky Show, you've ruined your life. You've ruined it. We'll be right back.
All right, very good. We're going to close with that imitation of Dr. Phil. And that, of course, is the man, the myth, the legend, the pride and joy of Alton, Illinois, without whom this show would not be possible. And as Ken Davis can tell you, back home in Alton, they call him White Lightning. Give yourself a raise, take it out of petty cash. See you tomorrow, everybody.
Hey, and remember, you can download previous Ben Joravsky shows and Benny J bonus interviews at both Chicago Sun-Times and Chicago Reader websites and wherever else you download your favorite podcasts. Find us on social media at Benny J Show, BENNY, the letter J Show, BENNY, the letter J Show on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And be like this person who's apparently named Dr. Phil and leave us a voicemail on the Ben Joravsky Show phone number. That's right, 708-658-4788. Prank us. Do a funny voice. Sing a song. Whatever you want to do. We'll play it. Turns out we're in Ben's attic. We need all the content we can get, all right? 708-658-4788. And tell your friends, share the link to the show. We'll see you tomorrow.